What's going on, everybody?
Hey, hey.
How y'all doing?
Doing good. I know it's not our normal day and time, but I wasn't feeling good yesterday, and Skuba said we could do it today, so we're here. We have a guest. Skuba, would you like to introduce the guest?
This is Harley from PNW Customs. I met him at one of my first aquashellas that I actually went to.
Yeah, so I'm Harley. I'm from PNW Custom. What I do is I actually make small aquariums, little desktop tanks. It's kind of what my company specializes in, along with stuff for saltwater hobbies, such as like frag racks, acclimation boxes, and that kind of whatnot. Um, I met him, Skuba Steve-O, at that was Chicago
Yep.
Aquashella. That was my first big show. So that was cool. He was just like, homie wasn't really into saltwater, but he was like, yo, what's going on? This is a cool booth. This is cool looking stuff. And so we just kind of laughed, hung out a couple times coming by the show. And he was just kind of a friendly face. And then one time just brought up that he was going to be eating some cereal at this booth that had the uh, overflow water tank with the like dishes and everything out on the side of it. Yeah, it looked really cool. And so that was just like a fun experience, meeting him, and we just kind of kept in contact, met up in Florida, really hung out in Florida, had a good time out there. But yeah.
Yep, that's pretty much it. That's what he does. And all his stuff is custom made here in the U.S. He does it all at home, in home.
Yep.
So everything that you see is either he made it himself or one of his workers, helpers.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything, like you were saying, is made in my garage, pretty much.
Oh.
So we have a little 2-car garage shop here and have a couple industrial lasers in it. Started with one tiny laser. So like when I met him, I had one small like hobby grade laser, and I was just doing it on the side for fun. And like going to that big show, Aquashella, was just kind of a test to see if it was viable and if I should keep going with it. So that show did really well for me, and I was like, all right, like let's just keep pushing and trying, and let's just kind of keep going from there.
Yeah, like the first time I met him, it was just him in one small little table, and then the
Yep.
second time it was him and 2 tables. The
Mm-hmm.
third time it was him, 2 people working for him, and 3 huge tables just full of all this crazy like saltwater
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, we were just trying to grow, and trying to get bigger and bigger. So yeah, we saw you Chicago, Dallas, and Orlando, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then I saw Tammy in Chicago.
Yep. Yeah, Tammy's really cool. So she was helping us Chicago setting that booth up. Sadly, we aren't going to be in Chicago for Aquashella because there is no Aquashella Chicago this year.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to push him to get to the Keystone Clash.
And I was going to say we'll have to see if you're going to make it to the Daytona Aquashella. That would be a pretty sick one.
Daytona is for sure, and the Keystone Clash are probably my 2 for sures. I'm not gonna make Dallas next month. I just need to save up money and stuff. So.
Yep. Yeah, man, Daytona is gonna be a really cool one. You should hit me up about that one, and we should work out, what time you're landing and stuff. Hang out for sure, because I definitely want to, spend some time chilling with you, going to some shops out there or something, doing something.
Definitely, yeah, always.
So, what about you, Lefty? What's up with you?
No, I was playing golf and I completely forgot that we had to stream tonight. Then my phone was apparently hooked up to the car's Bluetooth still, so I'm looking at it, I'm like, I have notifications from Instagram, and it was Skuba, and I'm like, oh crap, I totally forgot. But then I've got time. I was like 15 minutes left, and I was like, oh great. I pulled everything up, I was good to go. But no, nice. I just joined a local golf club like 5 minutes around the corner from me, so
that's
awesome.
Playing some. Other than that, I'm just dealing with 30 fish tanks.
30. So what's your specialty that you like to nerd out on with the tanks?
No, I'm gonna say community tanks mostly.
Okay.
Community tanks and smaller tanks. I got most of the nanos on this shelf here.
Nice.
But I don't have anything. I don't have anything over a 40-gallon breeder. Everything else is like 20s and under.
Nice. Awesome. And are you into like escaping and all that kind of stuff?
I attempt to, but I don't get too hard into it.
Yeah,
I
I
did
know
the
that.
aquascaping at the Keystone Clash last year. That's the first time I actually sat down and tried to escape something. And so this will be this coming one will be the second time I've ever actually just sat and tried to actually, with a lot of time booked off.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to actually like be able to play with it and stuff. But man, there's some really good aquascapers, and every time I build an aquascape, I'm like, wow, I wasted so much time in comparison to what these guys do, and so little time.
Yeah, especially compared to people like Shelby and Grant.
That's what I'm saying.
They're
exactly
crazy people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I don't have access to all the stuff, so that's going to shows where I can sign up to aquascape. I at least get to have all the stuff access to. Whereas here, it's whatever I've bought and is in other tanks, and I don't feel like pulling things out to try and sit down and do something. So that's the good thing about going to the shows like Keystone Clash. I got access to all the different woods, stone, and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So where's the Keystone Clash at?
Pennsylvania.
Okay, that's the one that you keep telling me about.
They keep pushing. They're pushing for more salt vendors, so that's why I'm trying to get you there.
Yeah, and I keep thinking about it because it's not too expensive as well. So
yeah, it'd be nice to be able to get to see you hang out.
You're gonna go there. Are you gonna vend at that one or just gonna be hanging out?
I'll probably be participating in the fish show ever since Triple Crown, just depending on how things work out. Because
nice.
My showfish got hurt a little bit, so I've been treating him. He seems to be getting better, but I think if he fully heals up, I think he'll beat any fish that. Yeah.
Nice. So you're just over there showing them. Were you showing at this show this weekend, or was it more of a swap meet?
It was just a swap meet, just like kind of more local people, kind of close to the area, like a little close, like Indiana, Clarksville people came down, Rhineville Aquatics and stuff like that. But I think we kind of got there late because when we was getting there, we got there like an hour late, so people were leaving, and we probably got like the last end of whatever it was. I should have took some footage or something, but it was just a real small like little room. It was probably like 3 or 4 people that had bags of fishing or whatever.
Nice. That's so cool. A little hobby get together kind of thing.
Yeah, just a local club swap. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then I got to see some familiar faces that I've met at the Triple Crown. So they was like, glad to see you and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, they was pushing for me to come to the clubs real hard.
You've been keeping shrimp recently?
Yeah, I actually have. Grant's been getting me into the shrimp. Like, it's just stupid. It's like now I got tanks, 4 of them in the bedroom. I got a 10-gallon Caradina tank that I've been having some luck with. So I got some blue bolts, some Stardust, and some YKK Yellow King Kongs in there. Then I got my little 5-gallon Neo tank, and that's been up for a few months. I've been actually doing pretty well with it. But during my power outage, I went without power for like 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
And I didn't think about the plants being in the shrimp tank sucking up more oxygen without the light and stuff. They photosynthesizing, and I lost about 20 blue diamond shrimp.
Damn.
Wow. So I bought a few more, and then getting the colony back up. But yeah, that was like the only loss I had throughout the whole time. I just bought little battery operated pumps and little Hygger air pumps and rechargeable ones.
Yeah, those are always good to have in case of emergency. I even have a couple of those.
Definitely, and just threw some towels, blankets over the tanks. The last day, it did start getting cold in my big cichlid tank, so I had to do like a warm water change there, throw some warm like hot jugs in there, just to make sure. But yep, that's all I really did, and the shrimp was the only thing. If I would have put an air stone in there, I feel like I wouldn't have lost anything. But you live and you learn, so
Totally.
You know,
Yep.
my
Sucks
shrimp
to learn
days are
that way.
behind me.
You're not into shrimp anymore?
I love them, but they don't love my water. And I've tried every different which way to, make the water the way they want. The only shrimp I can keep bamboo shrimp alive, and I can keep them on us. Everything else does not like my water.
Do you do RO water?
No.
Okay. So,
But my water is very soft and close-ish to, having nothing in it anyway.
okay.
So
So my water here is horrible. We have like 120 coming off the tap.
Wow.
Yeah. So exactly. So we use RO for ours, but we don't run it through the DI. I run RO DI for the saltwater, but just for the shrimp, I use the RO. And actually, I haven't done a water change on my shrimp tank in like 3 months. And I was noticing the other day, I was looking at it and I was like, man, I have more shrimp and this one's pregnant.
Yep.
So something's going on well with that, which is cool because I don't really do much with it. But it's just the little yellow Neos, nothing special, nothing hard. I have a couple of the crystals, and those are pretty cool. One of them had babies, but I think I have these little fish inside. They're the little tetras with them, so I'm pretty sure they ate all of the babies of those.
See, I just keep the shrimp in shrimp only tank, so that way, I want to get the most shrimp bred. So
Totally.
that way I can kind of spread them out throughout my friends and stuff like that.
Yep,
my
definitely.
buddy I just picked up all the guppies for. He's actually who I first bought the shrimp for and put them in his big plant tank. And he's got some really fat, like, blue diamonds in there, like some big daddies.
Nice.
But yeah, let's talk about. He's actually the one that designed and made the TGOE custom shrimp breeder boxes.
Yeah, these little boxes.
Those little boxes. So he's the.
So these are a
him
box
and
with a
Grant.
1 centimeter square on the sides, the back, and the bottom, and it just kind of helps you to be able to measure your shrimp, measure your coals. You're also able to have little flow through the sides and the bottom. So you still get some water agitation through there, but obviously it's not going to be blowing the little shrimp around. Perfect for if you're trying to keep shrimp in like bigger established tank that someone's going to be, munching the little guys out. Keep them in this, and it actually locks them up safe. Keeps them just above the water line, and then there's a little lock-in lid as well as hangs on the side. So that was something that I made up for Grant because he hit me up like, hey, we need a specific purpose for this, and we just kind of went from there with his specifications. Obviously, he's the shrimp man, so that's how it got down. I think that it's really cool also for other things for saltwater as well, because I was talking with a couple of other friends that were like, oh, that's perfect for macroalgae or even sexy shrimp, really small shrimp that are saltwater that typically you can't keep in a big tank because they'll get eaten or lost in it.
Okay.
That's pretty neat.
Yep. So that's one of the things that I make. If you've ever seen those little micro tanks that Shelby will have, or that I've been over on TikTok and Instagram, those are as well what we make.
So how many gallons or ounces are these tanks that you make?
So one of them is a 40-ounce tank, and that's a little 28-ounce tank with a little actual working sump. So the water filters down below into a 12-ounce sump, and then filters right back, into the tank. So I created that one for saltwater and freshwater. So I have, both options on that actually. Right behind me, I have it.
So how long ago do you think you created this design?
So I just kind of designed it for me, for fun, and happened that other people were interested in it as well.
And then you have 1 gallons and 5 gallons now, correct?
Exactly, and then I even have what's considered frag tanks for saltwater. We're making a few different sizes as well. So
that's the newest thing, right?
Exactly. We're kind of more entering into the tank market. Still trying to remain desktop, but offering some different things that either are a little slightly different sizes, oddball shapes. Just kind of trying to remain, not your normal 5, 10, 20 gallon glass tank.
They definitely look cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, when I first seen them, I was just like, what?
Yeah, I really just made it just because, I thought it would be fun to push the limits on what could be done in the saltwater industry and on the saltwater side. And just did it for me, just so I could have it in my living room and kitchen, and then happened to post it online, and people were like, I want one, and you got to make more of those. So just like you happen to keep going with it, and that's really what took over our business and really made us like have a name in our little small niche industry.
Yeah, whenever I hear people talk about salt, they always say, go bigger, go bigger. And
exactly.
Then it's the opposite. It's kind of cool to think you don't have to always go huge and you can still make it work.
Totally. Yeah. When I came out with that 1 gallon tank, what I tried to do with that is make it as simple as possible. So like just about anybody can keep it for fresh or salt, and what I did to do that is enclose the entire system so it has a lid, covering the display in the back area. You have very minimal evaporation, helps like lock in the temperature on it. And then just kind of made it very simple for the filtration. You have a media basket, easy to remove, maintenance and clean. You're not going to be able to forget about it because you can easily pull it right back out. The pump area is super basic. You just have a pump, room for a heater, room for automation if you want to do an auto top off or anything else. And, just told people to keep it really simple and you can be successful with it. It's really pushed the boundaries on what can be done for a small tank. Because just like you said, most people are like, oh, you have to go big. And if you're not going big, you're not going to be able to keep it. And I think that the reason people, assume it is because years and years ago, you couldn't get a pump small enough to properly do it. You couldn't get a heater small enough to properly fit. Now, as things evolve and the industry keeps coming out with new things and new products, you're able to. And just got to piece it, the right things together, and you can totally keep a small salt or freshwater tank if that's what all you have room for, all that you can fit. Or, even if you are really, really extensively through with tons of things that you've done in the hobby and you're excited about tanks, like you can see, we've got a big tank behind us. It's just fun to push the limit and just try something that's like most people would say is impossible.
Yeah, no, when I kept saltwater, it was 13 years. Wow, 13 years ago. No, 14. I feel old now. And I was doing it. I took marine science in senior year of high school, and we're lucky enough to have Long Island Sound here in Connecticut. So what we did is we had 20s, 30s, and I think a 155 in the back of the room. We went to like Long Island Sound and we collected like shells and stuff on the beach. Waited a couple weeks, then we went back with the nets, and we actually went out, waded out in the water, and actually collected local Long Island Sound fish and brought them back to the fish tanks that we made in the school. And those were smaller-ish tanks. And I know most people are like, I think most people tell me if I want to do saltwater, go 55. I'm like, but I don't have room for a 55.
Totally.
So, and I know, to me, I feel like salt and fresh itself, can be as simple or as hard as you want to make it.
Yep.
Like when we were keeping the local stuff, we didn't go crazy. The only thing we made sure was to try to keep the salinity the same. We didn't go super crazy with everything. Like we didn't have an RO system or all this fancy filtration underneath the tanks. We used good old under gravel filters with the little smokestacks that come out and just replace those charcoal cartridges. That's what we used, and it worked fine.
Yeah, I mean, so just like you're saying, salinity, and in my opinion, two things, if you maintain them, salinity and temperature, like, why can't you keep a small tank? That's pretty much your basics that you have to cover. And once you basically have those, covered, then you're able to move on to the next thing. And it's like, okay, what else can I do and maintain and then keep? And just like with anything is, as you start it, you can have as little or as much knowledge as there is, and continue to learn as you evolve. But at least for me, I just learn from doing. And if I just sit and read and read and read, I get a ton of information I'm really able to collect and build a decision. But like until I actually start doing and start putting my hands on it, like that's when I really start to learn.
I am the same way. I can read and listen all day, but I need the hands-on kinetic learning. That's where I thrive.
Exactly. Yeah. If I can put my hands on it, and if I can do my own experiments, figure out my own things that work for me, and that's, I feel like, what pushes me as a person to continue wanting to innovate as well. Because if I can touch it and if I can do it and make other people do it as well, then it makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
We do have a question here from Beta Aquatics. That's a two-parter. First one is, are the desktop tanks fully acrylic?
Yes. So the tanks are fully acrylic, all made here in the U.S. The reason that we use acrylic is just because it is a more affordable system than glass. We've looked at glass and have wanted to build some. We probably still will in the future, maybe more so on a little bit bigger of a scale. But for right now, what our goal is to make it affordable so anybody can enter. And glass or acrylic is actually 10 times stronger than glass as well. So that's a cool little factoid there. The weight of it full looks about 12 pounds with rock, some sand, and water. Or, if you're going to have shrimp, you maybe will have a bunch of plants, but you might not even have that much of an aquascape per se.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would say about 10, 12 pounds.
Yeah, I'm not singing the song Crown Tail. So for my 30th birthday, I did a stream, and I was having some adult apple juice, and they kept super chatting until I sang the Jigglypuff song from Pokemon. And they keep wanting me to do it again, and I keep telling them no.
Oh, man. That was good.
Because if you couldn't tell, I like Pokemon. So hello, Whip. Crown Tail, what's going on?
But yeah,
questions, just at somebody, and we'll get to it.
Yep. I recently seen you sent one out to Paul Cafaro. He's actually one of the bigger YouTubers that I actually enjoy to watch.
Yeah, what's crazy is like somebody tagged me in a comment he posted something on Instagram about a small tank and was like, "Oh, PNW Custom, check this out." And I was like, I just commented on it and it got a bunch of likes, and so I messaged him and he was like, "Yeah, shoot it over. Let's see what it is." And he obviously made that cool little video, and then he's gonna give it away. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It had like 60K in like 6 hours. I was like,
yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, he's got millions.
I was shocked.
Nice.
I hope to be able to meet him at some of the trade shows, out in Florida, because I'll be out there a couple times this year. So that'll be sweet.
Yeah, if y'all could get a collab going, that would be sweet for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt that we'll do too much, but just to be able to actually thank him in person, I would be able to actually meet him face to face. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool thing. It was like 60K in 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it recently, but I think it had like over 150,000 last time I looked. So I was like, nice.
Yeah, I was happy for you, man. I was like, big promotion. Like,
dude, it's crazy because like I was saying, that tank I just made for me just because I wanted to laugh about it and say I made a cool tank, and I guess other people wanted it too.
Oh yeah, they definitely want it.
Yeah. So now, actually, we just recently went over our mark of 1,000 tanks sold.
Wow!
So, congratulations!
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. That was really cool.
Yeah, I remember. You had a big break with the saltwater company too, right?
Yeah, saltwateraquarium.com, freshwateraquarium.com as well. They bought a bunch of our stuff, and they continue to sell our stuff on the site. They wholesale some of our products as well. And then, we're going to be working with trying to get on Amazon and trying to get into some other bigger distributors like Chewy and go from there.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It would be cool to see my stuff in an actual big box store someday, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely would be pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, I know this guy.
Right? Exactly.
Now, do you
Yeah, it's pretty
personally only
sweet.
keep salt, or do you have fresh too?
I have fresh, so I've got 1, 2. Right now, we've got more fresh than salt. We've got 5 fresh tanks up. 2 of them are a 1-gallon tank. One of them is a 40-ounce tank. Another one is a 5-gallon Fluval tank. And then we have a 3-gallon tank that I did a little all-in-one for.
Okay.
Yeah, so as well, I'm into nano tanks, clearly. We've got, 3, 5, 6 tanks that are all under 5 gallons, and then one big 100-gallon system.
So if somebody wants to buy some of your stuff, where can they go to find that?
So they can find us at www.pnw-custom.com. They can also find us on saltwateraquarium.com. If they're some of their local retailers, if they're in like the Florida area, Worldwide Corals or Top Shelf Aquatics, LA area, LAX Aquarium. There's just kind of some other fish stores around Great Lakes area that have us, and just I would say more so online right now at this point. But we're working at trying to expand, get into more actual brick and mortar stores. So hopefully one day we'll be in your LFS as well.
That's pretty sweet.
Yep. Yeah, I feel the same way when I see Jay, his products, at different places. I'm like, man, that's crazy. Like, I know this dude.
Mm-hmm. Y'all got any more questions?
Yep, just at me or Skuba, and we'll pick it up for y'all.
How's your salt tank going?
It's running still. I haven't put anything in it. I was actually just telling my buddy I'm gonna start messing with it here soon. I'm probably gonna test it with my test kit, see how everything looks before I start putting some inverts in there.
Mm-hmm. It's been cycling now for what, 2 months, 3 months?
Nah, just like a month and a half. Hasn't been that long.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I just want to take it slow, make sure everything's right,
Did you put some bacteria in there?
Yeah, I bought some bottled Fritz and some ammo something.
Perfect. Nice.
And then
Yeah.
I got a chunk of live rock in there and stuff. And then I watched a video from Bulk Reef Supply, and it's actually the same tank dimensions as my tank, and it has the same settings, the perfect settings I need for my Kessel light. So
nice.
It tells me how far from the water it needs to be, and
that's cool.
The settings for my LPS corals that I'm gonna start trying to do.
Yeah, Bulk Reef Supply's got so much information. It's sometimes it's hard to like decipher what everything is because there's just like so much. But very thorough.
Let's see, Killer Kitty. There you go. Oh, thank you, Skuba. Do you have any projects with fish breeding or experimenting with anything going on?
So at my house currently, not really, other than I've got some pregnant shrimp, which just happens by accident. I've made some like different breeder boxes, kind of like this. So I do tons of custom work. If someone would ever want a breeder box to a certain size or specification, totally up for doing that. I haven't done too much like myself in the freshwater fish stuff per se, other than like keeping some betas and keeping some tetras and danios. But yeah, totally up for customs.
I'm gonna push cichlids on you now.
Yeah, I need a bigger tank for that though.
Just don't get any of Skubas because they will do nothing but splash you when you feed them.
Yeah, actually, cool story. Lefty came down to Louisville for the Triple Crown, which is where I live. And that was like kind of my first introduction into the fish show and stuff. And he picked up some fish being all crazy and couldn't help himself. He was like, now I don't know what to do with these fish because now I'm going to go from Louisville. Instead of going back up home to Connecticut, I'm going to go down to Texas and go to Aquashella, Dallas. And then somebody got tested positive for the C word. And they didn't want to risk getting anybody sick, so they turned around and came all the way home.
Damn.
But I kept his how many cories was it? Like 8 or so.
Yeah, I think it was 8.
But I set up a little 10-gallon tank for him and kept his corridoras for him. And then he came back through and stopped by my house and picked them up. And I was like, "You want some cichlids?" And I gave him a whole trash can full of cichlids.
I'm expecting like 4 or 5, and he comes out with a 5-gallon trash can filled with bags of freaking cichlids, and I'm like, okay.
He's like, I'm setting you a whole tank up today.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So I threw them in the one I had going, and everybody gets along. No one, has killed each other. So
you need a 20 for cichlids?
You could do dwarf cichlids in a 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shell dwelling cichlids. Those are cool.
When I was doing
my experienced with those.
When I did the Mbuna tank, I started with a 30-gallon. And I asked, a couple different cichlid people first, and they're like, well, you could do it and put, like 12 to 15 fish in there. And I was like, okay. And then after like a year, I was like, I kind of want a 40-gallon. So now I got a 40-gallon breeder sitting in my closet on top of my dresser that is now the cichlid tank.
Nice. I think if I were to get into a bigger fresh tank next, we'd probably build something for discus.
Oh, that's on my list of fish I need at some point.
Dude, they're so beautiful. Like,
yeah.
I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, what if I just got rid of all my cichlids and just got some discus?
And they are a little bit, temperamental and harder to keep than some fish, but like in all reality, they're not that hard to keep, and they're simple.
Yeah, depending on where you get them from too. Some are like bred in tap water, so
yeah,
have that soft water.
But obviously the ones from the wild are so beautiful, and then it's like those ones are the harder ones to keep for sure.
Let's see. Killer Kitty had another one. Said, salt ignorant here. Are clownfish, nanofish in salt tanks?
Clownfish you can totally keep in small salt tanks. I would say a single clownfish you would probably not want to put in a tank smaller than like 5 gallons or so. But, a baby clownfish, we actually had a very itty bitty baby clownfish in our 1 gallon as we were raising it to start eating. And then that was before it went to a bigger tank. So, I would say nothing less than 5 gallons unless it's an itty bitty. But yeah, super easy fish to keep. Tons of captive bred clownfish that are like stunning. In the salt world, it's the opposite. If you get a captive bred fish, they're typically really sought after, very beautiful. You can breed them, for especially clownfish to have different morphs and have different characteristic traits. So you can keep ones that are bigger or smaller, and that's kind of pretty much it with the clownfish.
Okay. Yeah, with the one tank I'm thinking about that I have that I could make a saltwater, it's like I think it's a 17.
Totally.
I might convert that over because right now there's only a couple cories and 1 cichlid in it. I'm like, I could put those in the community tank and try and convert this to a salt tank.
Yeah, to be honest, I would say if like you have experience, a small tank like a 17-gallon tank is a great size to play with because you're not gonna have too many fluctuations. You'll be obviously if you get a covered lid too, you'll be able to minimize that.
I need to here because if I don't cover these tanks, the 10 gallons up here without covers within 4 days, I lose half the water.
Exactly. So like that's the biggest thing, or you just run an auto top off on it.
Yeah, I can't. The people that don't use them, I'm like, how do you not use a lid on your tanks?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need to get one of those for mine. But yeah, I'm excited to get me some clownfish and stuff. My mom tells me, she's like, I'm going to name all your fish after Walking Dead characters. I'm like, all right, cool. As long as I get to have a fish tank.
For beginners using my desktop tanks, can I briefly explain what's needed to start up? Yeah, so it actually comes, with a white, with the media basket, the pump. So everything you need to actually start the tank itself. You have to add your own water, add your own aquascape, add media. So what I typically do is look for some recycled media from another tank of mine or a friend's tank if you don't have one already up. And that's something I like to personally do to help start seeding a tank. but you can totally start from dry and then just let it cycle. Use a filter pad or filter floss at the top layer, and that's about it. Maybe a filter sponge. Keeping it really simple, not adding too many things into it at once, and just going slow is obviously the best way to go with any fish tank.
And then they had a follow-up. As a beginner, what would you recommend putting it in a nano tank?
So beginning, I would start with either using a dry scape and cycling the tank for about a month, or actually using some piece of live rock from like a local fish store or from a friend. And that will, help establish the biofilter so much faster. So you can get that in and add in if you're going to run sand. There's some really basic, easy to keep corals such as like green star polyp, zoanthids, and there's hundreds and hundreds of different morphs on those corals. There's other really cool things called macroalgae, which is an algae that grows in your tank that you have as a display. And in a small tank, it's great because it's super easy to keep. There's nothing really to eat it, because in a larger tank you can have fish that'll eat it. But in such a small tank, you typically don't have fish, or the fish that you do have are not really going to bug the algae. They're gobies. So if you want to have fish, there's some small gobies that you can keep. Green banded gobies, a lot of captive bred gobies from this company ORA and Biota. Those are two really easy to find, very available kind of fish. So those kinds of things are great. Inverts, sexy shrimp, blue lake hermit crabs. Those are some of my favorites because they look pretty cool and they're also always working. You've got the little Astrea snails, and I personally like to just keep, very basic stuff. I've seen people totally keep advanced, harder to keep corals, but for beginners, I would just say keep it very basic. Do your water change, once a week. So take about 20% of the water out, refill it back up with fresh mixed salt water, and watch your RO or your levels by adding RODI water back in for your salt. So as the salt evaporates, as the water evaporates, the salt will still stay in the tank. And by just adding water back in, you're going to help to keep your salinity stable, and you're going to also help to keep all the corals and different inverts alive.
Okay. Now, when you measure your salinity, do you have the new thing where you put the water and you look through it, or do you still have the old school thing where you dip it in, it's got the floater?
The hydrometer or the refractometer? I think.
So those two are even outdated. Now I've got this thing called a HANA instrument, which you literally just stick in the water and it has a digital readout display of the exact number.
That seems like cheating.
It is. And I just
for...
calibrate it once a month with the calibration fluid. But other than that, totally, refractometer is the way to go, or you can just use the hydrometer. I haven't seen very many people use a hydrometer in so long just because they're very finicky. But refractometers are like the step back, and then now the new digital age has the HANA instruments, and those tools are super accurate, very easy to use.
Pretty neat. I need to get some to test my calcium levels and all that stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, for your tank, I would totally recommend you get some of the HANA alkalinity tests. Definitely that one. Magnesium, and the calcium is kind of a finicky one. You can actually get a little bit cheaper of one that's a bit more accurate called the Salifert. So that works really well. But what's cool too about the HANA stuff is some of the things are cross compatible with fresh. So like I have a pH pen that you can stick right into the water. It tells you the pH of the water and also the temperature of it.
It's on my TDS pen. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Let's see. Killer Kitty, another question. I got a Fluval Flex 9-gallon. Thought about clownfish and maybe with microalgae.
Yeah, so like I was just saying, macroalgae is great for small fish because they're not going to bug it. You've seen a big rise in macroalgae tanks in probably the last 6 months to a couple of years, just because how easy it is to keep in nano tanks, especially their requirements in terms of salinity and temperature have a bit more fluctuation room, so you can actually have some room for error, whereas some of the harder to keep corals are obviously not able to keep in a nano tank for those stability reasons. Clownfish, they don't really bother. Macroalgae, they're really cool, beautiful fish. One thing that I'll say about clownfish is they get very territorial. So typically you want them to be like the last fish added into the tank, or you want to just kind of make sure you're adding things that are bigger or that are not going to get bothered by the clownfish.
Okay.
Never heard of that before.
Yeah, that's something that I've just experienced as well. You know, having tanks over and over and having clownfish in different tanks.
Good info for me.
Yeah, like I've actually got one right here that's just cuddling in some corals, and if anything gets near his little area, like he's on it.
Well, I'm sure it's like the natural instinct to protect their home. So that would make sense. Like even with African cichlids, they claim their one little spot, and then sometimes they'll be real jerks, and anything comes within a couple inches, they're going at them. So it makes sense.
That's why.
It's funny because like he's an 1.5 to 2 inch fish now, and he'll go after the 4 inch, 5 inch fish. Like, get out of here, dude.
And Garcia has a real easy one. Do you guys ship?
Oh yeah, so we ship all over the world. We have free shipping on our site over $100. Under $100, it's like $6 to $8, so really cheap. And then if you're in any part of the world other than the U.S., it's just $35 flat. And if we actually get charged less, then we refund the difference.
Okay.
Yep.
And Beta is saying Hannah Brand Digital ?
Yeah, I'll grab it real quick.
All right. Thanks for the questions, everybody.
So it's this little pen here. You just turn it on. It tells you the battery life. And obviously it's in no water, so 0, 0. And the temperature here is about 69 degrees. So very, very accurate, really easy to read out. You just dip this little end here right into the water.
Okay.
All the way to about there, and it'll automatically show you.
Oh, it's just like a TDS pen.
Yeah, exactly. The TDS, the pH pens they make now.
So super, and I think they're like $40 or $35. So they're affordable, super easy to use.
Definitely gonna check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have one yet and you're still using the refractometer, I mean, this is a great investment.
Definitely.
See, Beta Aquatics has another question. It says, beginner question. For larger reef tanks, I was told do fewer, smaller percent water changes. What about the desktop tanks? Do you need more water change?
So I would say a larger water change in a small tank once a week is better than doing multiple water changes throughout the week. You totally can do that as well. But if you do multiple 10% water changes throughout the week, that works up to add about 30 to 40% at the end of the week. So just kind of maintaining stability by doing constant the same amount every time is more so what you're looking for.
Okay. Killer Kitty's asking, will the salinity checker work for brackish tanks?
It will. Yeah. So it'll read all the way down to 0, 0, 0, and that's used for the RO water. And then it detects just like any minute amount. So 0, 1s or 0, 0, 0, 1 and anything up from that. Because I think you keep those at like 1.012 or so, like pretty low like that.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't dabbled with brackish stuff.
I've thought about it because there's a lot of really cool puffers. And our logo actually originates from a saltwater fish called the boxfish, which they're in the same family. So they've always been a very cool interest for us. But we've kept a couple, and that's where we kind of went from it. I've always wanted to get into like the Amazonian puffers and like the pea puffers, and I'll probably eventually one day will happen, but not quite there yet. Have you kept them?
I have pea puffers at the classroom fish tank at the school I work at. So at the beginning of the year, I was covering for a 5th grade teacher, and their first unit is like ecosystems right into the food web and everything. So I said to the kids, I'm like, look, I can do a classroom fish tank for you guys if you behave, and I'll let you guys vote on the fish and this stuff. So I picked like 4 different kinds of tetras, mollies, and other stuff. I was like, here, you guys pick one from each category. And then, of course, they all wanted the puffers because I put peep puffers on there. So I got some of those. Those are in the tank with everybody. So I kept peep puffers. I was debating getting an Amazon puffer or what's it, Congo puffer for this tank here, an Amazon puffer. And then I bought a new car instead. So the price of the puffer is like a car payment. So I'm still debating if I want to wait and eventually get one for this tank. When I was setting this tank up, I got fish that would be able to go with it, that it wouldn't just be able to eat and kill right away.
Yeah.
You don't have puffers, do you, Skuba?
No puffers.
Yeah, peep puffers are pretty cute. They're definitely very interesting to watch. Did you say you have them with other fish?
Yes.
And that's going well?
They've been fun. So when I set it up, I brought a big old clump of Java fern from home and some other plants. So like one whole half of the tank is nothing but Java fern or Java moss. So I'm pretty sure that's where they're hanging out mostly. But I've got 5 pea puffers in with Cristilla tetras, green platies, Cory cats, and a beta fish, and everybody's fine. Nobody attacks anybody.
That's cool.
I think it's just so big. I am an overstocker when it comes to community tanks. So there's so much chaos going on. I don't think they have enough time to relax to actually go at anybody.
Yeah, what size tank did you say that was?
It's a 20-gallon. Just 20-gallon fresh water.
I've always kind of thought that pea puffers had to be like insularity, with 3 or 5 of them, and that was kind of
That's what I would have reading a lot. Either keep one or keep a group in at a 20. And I was like, well, you know what? I've seen people put them in community tanks before. I'm going to give it a shot. Worst case, I'll just catch them out and bring them home. I've got empty tanks I can throw them in.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just ended up where one of the other 5th grade teachers has one tank at home, and she thinks she's an expert. And I'm I'm just like, I have 30 tanks at home, but she's like, that bait is gonna kill these are gonna kill things. I'm like, no, they'll be fine.
Little does she know.
Right.
Lefty's dirty secret.
Listen, I can't. This has to stay separate from work, otherwise work might be like, hey, you can't say that on stream, you're fired.
Yeah.
So that's why no one has my personal email or anything. Let's see. There was a question. Garcia, this question is confusing me because I don't think they can be kept saltwater, but I'm going to ask it the way you wrote it. It says, for a saltwater beta, what is the best tank size?
So there is saltwater betas.
There are?
Yeah, they're really cool. They're called marina betas. I think it's like a 75-gallon. They're big. They're not like what you think of a beta fish, which is weird, but oh man, they're pretty cool. You should look it up. Yeah, I've seen a few of them in different like fish stores and stuff, and they're magnificent. But yeah, they're a large fish for sure.
That's not what I had in my mind.
Right?
No, I wasn't thinking that either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can kind of see a beta resemblance in that one picture with its fins down, pointing down.
Say, almost remind me more about maybe a gourami than a beta.
Yeah, totally.
Or like some kind of jewel cichlid.
I mean, they still look cool.
Yeah, no, they're definitely a beautiful fish. I mean, in person, they have a really cool white on black dot that you see there, and it's a very like flashy fish. You can definitely tell it in the tank.
Mm-hmm. Those are pretty slick.
They're very cool. You're going to get me wanting one of those now, Garcia. How dare you?
Right?
I was just going to pull that. Filtration question. How often do you to clean it for the desktop tank?
So in saltwater, we use these little filter pads or filter floss. And I would say you swap that out every 3 to 5 days. You actually clean the display of the tank probably about once every week, and the water change as well once a week. So that's pretty much your maintenance for it. Topping it off with fresh water probably once every 4 days. With the lids, it really helps keep the evaporation to a very minimum. So it's pretty easy to maintenance. As long as you keep it simple, then it'll stay simple.
All right. Let's see. Now, as far as shipping goes, how long does it usually take from once someone places an order, processed and all that stuff to get shipped out? And
so depending on when it is, if I'm actually here and we have it in stock, it obviously immediately goes out. We're building up our box stock quite a bit better. So now, it's a much quicker turnaround. It used to be 2 to 3 weeks from the time you place the order till it shipped. Now most of our tanks are actually built in stock. So they're only a day or two from the time you place the order to shipping, and then receiving is, 3 to 5 business days typically.
Okay. Now, do you just have a bunch of these sitting in your garage, or do you do more like made to orders? Or
if I told you I have like 30 of them in my living room right now, or in my living room hallway that I can see in eye view, that's where part of the stock is. And then we've got another 40 of them in the garage.
Okay.
And, some in another room. So they're kept all over, but yeah, we do keep them in stock. And it, like I was saying, this is all from my house and my two car garage. So we're starting to expand a little bit because now my neighbors are my employees and we're invading their garage a bit. So that's where most of the stock is being kept at the time.
And that's the beauty behind it. It's just all done at home.
Yeah, it is. And it's all, what's really cool too is I'm able to work with some of my friends literally every single day. We just hang out and build stuff, and that's what we do for our living. So it's cool because I can employ, we've got 4 friends that just come by, and
I definitely want to come work a show with you once.
Dude, yeah, no, definitely. I would love it. We'll have to link up and, have you come out for Daytona or something cool like that. I would definitely be down for that.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I got a little bit of booth experience behind my belt.
Yeah, I mean, most of it is just kind of learning it on the fly,
Mm-hmm.
Well, Grant usually leaves you in charge of his booth. He's got to walk away, right, Skuba?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I feel like every show that we've all been at, Grant's always walking away, and he's like, "Oh, Skuba, you're in charge of the booth."
Yeah.
Yep. And I think I held down the PNW booth once or twice too.
Yep, he did. He did in Dallas and in Orlando.
Yep, so that's pretty cool.
Beta Aquatics is asking what the shipping weight is.
The shipping weight on the 1 gallon, it's 4 pounds. On the micro tank, it's 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, very light. And then we've got some other bigger tanks, but those are more so geared towards saltwater. So you totally can keep it freshwater, but we have a 4-gallon frag tank and a 2.5 gallon, 10 gallon, and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you got any questions about any of the specifications on any of the tanks, you pretty much can tell you just like that. Pretty much.
Yeah.
What you
literally everything is I touch, and I get to inspect, and like we're saying, it's a small company. Everything is very detail oriented. I don't let crap go out the door. Bottom line.
Yeah, it's definitely a plus about being smaller. You get
exactly
quality control everything yourself instead of relying on somebody else to do it for you.
Totally, yeah, and it's also it makes it, I feel, easier to update, easier to adapt, because instead of it going from the bottom up, it's starting right here. We see the problem and we can go and fix it. We can enable, the next change. We can do the thing that will, update us to where we might need to be, or come out with the next innovative product. And just by keeping it small, that helps for sure streamline the process.
Yeah, I'd like to see a nano corner tank.
Corner tank. Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, I've got a corner hutch right here. Those would go great on that corner hutch.
That's what I was thinking. Perfect for a little shelf or something, right in the corner of your desk.
Like a half a hexagon, kind of, right?
Yep.
Interesting. I haven't thought about that before.
When I first got back into this hobby and I was doing betas, PetSmart had it was it was a triangle tank that was a corner. It was only 1 gallon, and then I'm like, beta needs a little more. So now I got mostly 2.5s and 5s for all them.
Totally. That reminds me of back in the way day, the cylinder or the column tanks that were hexagons.
Yep. That's what I had when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
One of those hexagon tanks.
Doing different shapes.
And
Me too.
It had like a bubble light on the bottom.
We didn't have a bubble light, but we had a little bubbler that sat all the way down, and it went to an underground filter, and that's how it was filtered.
Listen, back then, my mother would put the fish in a bowl, dump the whole tank out, take the gravel, put it in the colander, clean it, Windex the tank, clean everything, then start all over. Once a week, we did this.
That's
we all did that at one point.
My dad used to bleach the live rocks. You know, he would take the rocks out of the tank and bleach them, and it would just be cycling rocks all the time.
Well, I know when my first class, we were talking to a guy who owned a pet store back in the 70s. He said that's what they used to do. Once a week, they would drain the tanks, bleach everything, and then just fill them up again.
Yep.
So they never had a chance for any spikes and anything because they were basically starting from scratch all the time.
Yeah. Man, that was so stressful for those fish.
All right, let's see. Well, before we have to head off here, because Danny and Kenny are going to start streaming soon, is there any kind of like shipping warranty or crack warranty or anything like that you want to talk about before we go?
Absolutely. Everything is all covered here. We do a 90-day warranty, but, you know, if you message me and you're like, yo, I have a problem with this or I have a problem with that, like, I'm going to help you out. So by being a small business, like, you can really rely on us to take care of you and, you know, make sure that our name is very well within or well written within anything, and we're not going to let crap out the door. So we rarely have issues with things arriving, you know, and it already having damage before it left. But if things come and obviously they get damaged in transit, that's not your fault. We're going to take care of you for sure.
We had a UPS driver one time stand at our road, and we're like maybe 25 yards from the road. She didn't want to walk up the walkway, so she literally was throwing packages at the side of the house.
Nice.
Or I've seen guys that will come by and they'll literally punt it like a football. I'm like, what are you doing? It's not a football. We're not going for a field goal here.
Yeah, see, that's another cool thing when we get to link up and hang out. We always get to hang out and we brainstorm ideas. Like, you're coming up with ideas for my channel. I'm coming up with ideas for you. And we're just bouncing stuff off each other, like bouncing. Bing, bing, bing.
Right. Yeah, it's always a good time when we get to hang out. So I definitely look forward to that.
But yeah, it's definitely a really good brand. I stand behind them for sure. It's really good quality. I'm not just because he's my friend, but it's actually really... It's the real deal, you know what I mean? So like,
thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Like, if it's junk, I'm not gonna, you know, promote it and share your stuff every time you make a post or drop some new product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's definitely a cool
in
concept and everything.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you guys for letting me come on here and just chat with you and have a good time.
Yeah, sometime maybe we'll have to set up another one and do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if Lefty makes his way to Daytona, or if you make your way to the Clash, I'll have to have you guys meet in real life.
That would be a blast. We definitely have to get together.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you, Skuba, for getting our buddy here on. And everybody, Danikin's live. I put the link in the chat. Make sure you head over there. And thank you all for the super chats and the memberships and all that good jazz. And Skuba and I will see you again in a month's time.
Yep, thank you all.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
See you, everybody.
Squad. See y'all.